Hey guys, OGalbina here, bringing you guys yet another draft analysis. I know, another day, another draft analysis this week, but I promise this is the last one, and today we are going to be going over our BBR Season 7 Draft League team. This one I'm really excited for. Obviously, we've had a ton of BBR content over the Generation 9 span and Generation 8 too, and I think our team this time is awesome, and I keep fallen just short in BBR in semis and similar game scenarios, and I really want to win the season. I think we actually have a very good chance of winning. I really like my draft, and I'm feeling good going into it. If you guys do enjoy today's video and draft analysis, be sure to drop a like on the video as well as subscribe to the channel. We are on our way to our new goal of 5,000 subscribers by the end of 2024, and it starts today. I really need your support. I'd really appreciate it if you did so. And yeah, let's jump into it. A little bit of background knowledge. This season we are doing low tier Terra captains. Boo! But we are, is something we have to, keep in mind, obviously, when drafting, that Pokemon 10 and below, with some exceptions, are going to be our eligible Terra captains. They can pick up to 2 typings in which they can Terra into. Other than that, pretty standard draft, 120 points, 9 to 11 Pokemon. And we had the 4th pick going in, and I really want to try something fun that I haven't really gotten a chance to try this gem. Gouging Fire went first overall to Thomas, then Dragon Bolt second to John, and then the Pokemon I really wanted to use in Latios went right before me to Dr. Slacking. So I settled for something different, something I haven't used in a good 3-4 years, honestly, in Deoxys Speed. This is a Pokemon that really does do it all, and speed is king in the Draft League format. Having speed control is very important, and having a Pokemon that can just outspeed base 100, base 110 Scarfers with crazy offensive coverage is so incredibly clutch. That also includes +1 Pokemon that are DD'd up and things like that. Being able to have a Pokemon that is guaranteed faster than those if I do need so is incredible, but also the fact that I can pretty much always go modest or potentially adamant in any single matchup. I can pretty much always run max HP, really fat Deoxys speed, because I can always afford to in a matchup when you have 180 base speed. Other than that, this thing has incredible offensive coverage. It can nasty plot and Calm Mind. It gets reliable recovery. Obviously in Recover. It's also the ultimate utility mod, getting access to Reflect and Light Screen, the fastest screens in the game, unless you're a Lecky or a Prankster mon, right? But we also get Knock Off, we get Spikes, Rocks, Teleport, crazy fast Taunt, Trick, Thunder Wave. I mean, the list goes on and on, and that's not even, considering all of its offensive coverage that we didn't even list off out loud, whether it be Nasty Plot, Calm Mind sets, or just Meteor Beam, Power Herb sets, or Choice Specs, or just Life Orb 4 attack sets. I mean, Cosmic Power variants, Amnesia, Calm Mind variants. It really does go absolutely on and on. So I'm really excited to use this guy. I think it's going to be an absolutely awesome Pokemon to build around, and it's a really fun start to this team. Now, round 2, I wanted to grab something that helped out our Deoxys. And what do offensive psychics not really appreciate? It's going to be Dark and Steels. I knew I wanted to secure a fighting type this next round. Now, there were some great options at this point. Urshifu Rapid Strike had not gone, which is a Pokemon I was really considering, but I actually ended up going with a different fighting type, something I have not tried all generation, a Pokemon I've been dying to use. That's going to be Big Iron Hands. Aoi Todo is on the Carolina Roy Moon. This Pokemon is like the ultimate 1-for-1 trade Pokemon. We went from really fast to really slow, obviously, but having 140 base attack as well as 154 base HP, 108 defense, and then a pretty bad 68 Spadef. But that HP set really supplements it whether we go with an Assault Vest, whether we invest in our Spadef and don't really have to invest in our HP, and it really shoots up those calcs. It really is incredible. This thing is great with an Assault Vest like mentioned, but it can also Sword Stance, it can also, Volt Switch around and gain momentum, it can also Iron Defense Body Press. I mean, this thing does a ton of different things. It's great with a weakness policy. It's great with any resist berry ever. It's going to be very good. So this is a great Pokemon for Deoxys, a great pivot in the things Deoxys doesn't appreciate. It breaks through said pivots and does a lot of damage overall. So I'm really excited to use this guy. It's something I've seen a ton of other people have so much success with, and I've never really gotten the opportunity to use it myself. So I'm definitely really excited. Now, while I did want a new team this season, of course, I'm never opposed to grabbing some old Carolina Roaring Moon MVPs, and of course, I had to get Enamorus, our MVP from last season, though it could Terra. This season it can't Terra, or we would Terra Fairy or Terra Stellar and nuke everyone, but regardless, this Pokemon's still incredibly solid. I love the offensive fairies with Pokemon like Deoxys and Iron Hands. Really, all 3 of these Pokemon break incredibly well for each other. But Enamorus is going to be a really strong Pokemon, whether it be physically with 115 base attack, or especially with 135 base special attack. We're very fast with 106 speed, kind of bridging the speed gap, giving us a very important speed tier. We can set up and Calm Mind and Agility and do a bunch of annoying things like the set we brought against Keegan with a really bulky Calm Mind Draining Kiss set. But we can also just go Choice Specs and click Moonblast. So we can go Boots variants with Superpower Contrary and boost our attack and defense and really go to town that way. We can also rock with Healing Wish variants in order to, you know, bring back a Pokemon like Iron Hands or Deoxys, which I really like as an aspect to this team, because those Pokemon do tend to get worn down, especially Iron Hands. Being able to give the thing a second life is incredible. So, Enamorus Pokemon I'm really comfortable with using. It was a round 2 pick last season, and this time we got an Iron 3, so I mean, even better, right? So that means team must be better, right? And again, bring it back Carolina Roaring Moon veterans. We stuck with the same theme in the next round and realized I really wanted a ground type. I absolutely needed a ground. I needed some more hazards too. My rock setter was Deoxys, and I really don't want to run hazards Deoxys. It's not very fun to run hazards on your best mon because it's the best hazards on your team. So I wanted something very reliable in that regards. I wanted a dark type for bulky psychs as well. I wanted something that fits really well with Iron Hands outside of a fairy weakness that they share. That's going to be big Crocodile, man. Great rocker. Intimate as a great pivot. It spreads knockoffs and gets rid of items. It EQs. It does a ton of damage. It's an incredible Scarf for it too. Base 92 is an incredible speed tier for us as well. Again, we're kind of filling in these nice little speed tiers that we don't have up to this point. We can set up with bulk ups and win the game that way. We can rock out with Moxie variants, whether it be Choice Scarf. I've run Choice Band, Moxie Crocodile, and it's smashed through some teams. This is a Pokemon I think we used incredibly well in the GBU this most recent season. It was definitely, at least in my mind, the MVP with all that it did throughout the season. That or Thunderous Eye, but I'm really happy to have it again here. I think it fits the team really well. But going into round 5, we're going to finally switch it up. No more veterans of the Carolina Roaring Moon. We're going to get someone new this time. New to the game and new to our franchise in general. And if you look at my team right now, I'm very fairy weak. I only have, I have 2 Pokemon that are neutral to it, which isn't bad, but they're not the bulkiest Pokemon in the world. And then I do have 2 weaknesses to fairy, so I really wanted to grab a fairy resistance. I also really wanted to secure good removal. Pokemon like Enamorus really appreciate not having to run boots. Pokemon like Iron Hands do not like spikes being up on the field because they're either forced into boots variants on your hands or you're taking a ton of chip throughout the game. Same thing with T-Spikes, which this thing does also double as a grounded poison as it does resist fairy with that poison typing. So I end up grabbing Tentacruel. Now, Tentacruel can be a little bit underwhelming in the damage department sometimes, but it also did lose Scald this generation, which is another big downside to it. Now, I can't beat Burns on everything that wants to potentially switch in, but it gets Rapid Spin, it resists Fairy, speed tier we don't have yet. It's not terrible offensively because it has that like water, poison, ice coverage, which hits a lot of things very hard. But especially something that I think is really cool is its access to Flip Turn, giving us another pivot and momentum grabber. Right now, it's only Iron Hands and I believe Baton Pass and Enamorus. If it gets that, I don't think it does even though. I actually don't think it does. So gaining momentum on our team is obviously going to help. You know, even Iron Hands to an extent. We have that Volt Turn core now. Instead of U-Turn, though, it's Flip Turn. So I really like Tentacruel on this team a lot. It gives me T-Spikes, too, and something I am not opposed to doing ever is running Sub-Recover Dio with pressure stalling things out of attacking moves, as well as poisoning and whittling them down. I will punish you if you don't bring the right moveset against my Gliscor, or against my Deoxys speed and T-Spikes, and it's something I'm definitely very excited about. So, yeah, definitely a really good Pokemon. Going back around, I wanted to grab a Tera Captain at this point. A lot of them were tending to go this round. I think right before me, what ended up going this round, I think Obograph did Belly Bolt, and I was like, okay, this is when people are going to start dipping down getting those Tera Captains. So I wanted to secure mine as soon as humanly possible, and I grabbed a Pokemon that also doubled as a really great role filler on this team. That's going to be Dunsparce here. Now, Dunsparce can turn into a Ghost and a Water type throughout the season. I was originally going to do Ghost and Fairy, so I had a good defensive Fairy, but you'll see soon I get decently defensive Fairy in a little bit here. So I ended up going with Water to have a more sturdy Water, especially like if we're physically defensive. Tentacruel isn't the bulkiest thing in the world, but also as a normal type, I really like it. I like having a Ghost immunity when I have a really strong Psychic type on my team. Having something completely immune to a typing that hits me very hard is incredibly valuable. Obviously now I can Tera Ghost and then I'm weak to it, but that's going to be something that we have to play around with a little bit, right? Terragos is going to allow us to drop our one weakness on fighting and kind of swap our type inversion and, you know, be a little bit annoying in that regard. And then water's just a really good defensive neutral typing for the team. But this thing's a great rocker. It gives reliable recovery and roost. It glares and, you know, slows things down with paralysis. It poisons things with toxic, or it sets up calm minds, or it sets up coils. It really does do it all. This Pokemon is a great catch-all defensive check to so many different things. It's a Pokemon I've absolutely loved using in the past as a Tera captain in low tier Terra leagues, and I'm really excited to use it this season. I think it's going to be an absolute blast to play with. Now, I mentioned a little bit earlier that we were going to get a more defensive fairy this time, and or in the next round, and we ended up grabbing Klefki here. Now, what does Klefki do for me? It also gives me my Steel type, another fairy resist, so now I have 2 of them, which I like having 2 of them, obviously. But another thing I like about Klefki is the spike support it gives to this team. Up to this point, we had no spikes outside of Deoxys, and I really, like I said, don't want to run Hazard's Deoxys. Not that it is a bad set, it is a great set, but very often I'm going to want to run really offensive variants, really defensive variants, setup variants, and it's going to be really hard to fit spikes and rocks on that thing, so having one of the best spikers in the game is incredible to me. Also, the dual screens aspect. I have a lot of cheesy setup on this team right now. I have Deoxys, I have Iron Hands, I have Enamorous, I have Crocodile, I have Dunsparce. Really, just every Pokemon on my team up to this point outside of Tentacruel sets up under screens very reliably. And even then, I can run an SD Tentacruel, baby. I'll SD Rapid Spin and Waterfall Poison Jab through your team. You just watch me. But I love the screens aspect. I love the T-Wave aspect. Great utility. I love going switcheroo, lagging tail variants to make big threats very slow. I think that's a very clutch aspect of Klefki. And it's also a prankster Pokemon that deals with prankster immune Pokemon, dark types, very well, because we have Dazzling Gleam as a means of hitting them, or Play Rough, I think. You think, but probably Dazzling Gleam most of the time. So, just the ultimate utility mon. I think it gives a lot of things this team didn't have at this point, and kind of ticks a lot of it kind of like, you know, hits all the check mark boxes a win for the team, which is obviously really nice. And it gives us something for dragons, because dragons smoked us because our fairy was Enamorous up to this point. So, I like that aspect a lot. Now, if you're looking at my team right now, I think you're probably seeing a big weakness in it up to this point. And that is the ground typing and the move Earthquake. I don't have a ground resist up to this point. I have 1 immunity in Enamorous, who's not the bulkiest guy in the world, or bulkiest gal in the world. Sorry. So I really wanted to have a conventional ground resist. I also wanted something to conventionally break through water types really well. Something like Hands isn't always going to be able to switch on said water types in case they are scald ones. Ones like Slowking, things like that. Well, those guys can also psych me. But water types that get scald, right? Because I don't want my hands to get burned. Shaman is the ultimate bulky water destroyer, because not only does it nuke through them with Seed Flares, but also it's very good at pivoting into them and shrugging off Skull Burns with Natural Cure. This also gives me a status absorber, which I always love having on a team, honestly, especially with bulky demons like Iron Hands and Dunsparce. There's definitely going to be a lot of status coming my way, potentially Toxics and Burns and, you know, things of the sort. So Shaman's going to be great at doing that. It's also very solid offensively. Seed Flares are a really dumb move, man. Getting that big chance to drop something Speed F by 2, and then having the combination of Earth Power, Dazzling Gleam, Air Slash is going to be really obnoxious, but you can also Leech Seed things down. And it's another Healing Wish Pokemon. I love Healing Wish, if you can't tell, and I think it's a great aspect to this team. And again, it helps keep a lot of our big top end threats very healthy, and takes a lot of pressure off them. So I'm really happy to have Shaman yet another time. I spam draft this thing, man. Now, going forward, I really wanted another breaker. I felt like the team was lacking a little bit in immediate offense up to this point. I had Pokemons like Hands and Crook that could break on the physical side to an extent. Not great in every matchup, but were at least strong. Deoxys can break in some matchups, and Enamorous is incredibly strong. Really, up to that point, this is all I had when it came to immediate, like, offense. And I wanted to grab Gengar here. I love the offensive ghost typing on my team. Now, it is doubling up on a poison, but I don't really think of Gengar as a defensive poison. Outside of pivoting in on a stray fairy move, like a Moonblast or a Dazzling Gleam, I'm not taking any hits anyways, right? I'm coming in to click Sludge Wave and Shadow Ball and do some damage. I want to click Focus Blast and Dazzling Gleam. I can Nasty Plot, I can be Scarf, I can be Choice Specs. I really like having a Scarf for Overbase 100 as well. Something like Enamorous can do it, but I'm not a big fan of Choice Scarf Enamorous. I think Specs can kind of push through its check, so it's fine to be locked in, whereas Scarf ends up kind of being a sitting duck into a lot. Whereas Scarf Gengar is a great revenge killer to a ton of things. It's also going to be Vacuum Wave and Extreme Speed immune, which I really like as a priority, cleaning type revenge killer mon like Gengar can be. So it's a great Pokemon. I mean, I've used this thing a million times. I absolutely absolutely adore using it, and I'm really excited to use it again this season here in the BBR. And then lastly, had 4 points left. I was looking, and I still felt really insecure about ground types. I had Shaman, and I had Namorous, and that was it. But maybe Shaman doesn't have a great matchup into the opposing side. Maybe that ground type can take advantage of it. So I wanted to grab another typing that did resist ground, but I also wanted to get some utility out of this low tier. I wanted something that I was going to force my opponent to prep for, or they were going to be punished. And I think that's an absolutely perfect Pokemon for this role, is going to be Volbeat. Owen, why did you draft Volbeat? Let me tell you, dear viewer, it's because of Prankster, man. That's really it. It gets good slow pivot momentum in U-turn, but also the fact that it gets Prankster T-Wave and Encore to potentially, you know, mess with things, move pools and setup options and different things of the sort. I think that's a great aspect of Volbeat here. I chose Volbeat over Illumise because I like having 73 attack and being able to hit stronger U-turns, but really other than that, it's just going to be those status moves. Encore, Priority Recovery, and Moonlight / Roost, probably Roost most of the time, Priority Taunt, Priority Trick, which is incredible. Again, I love Encore as a move as well. Even potentially random like Rain Dance or Sunny Day if I absolutely need to reverse weather on an opposing team. Now, Rain doesn't really help me outside of Rain Dish Tentacruel. Same thing with Sun, don't really benefit from it. But if I'm playing Rain, if I'm playing Sun, I have a way of slowing that down and being annoying about it. So that's what we're going to do, obviously. And yeah, great value out of a 4-pointer. And that's going to be the team. We are all set for this upcoming season of the BBR. I think our team is very fun. I like how it came out. It's a little bit unconventional in the sense of how it was built. It's very much so bulky offense and not so much the very hyper offensive playstyle we've been using all generation, because I think that was the best playstyle. But I like how this team came out, and I'm pretty happy with how, you know, we built it. Let me know what you are excited to see used the most this season. I'm sure most of you it's Deoxys, but I'm excited about Big Hands, man. That thing, he's the truth, I'm telling you. I really hope I show that off this season. But yeah, with that being said, let me know in the comments, drop a like, sub if you're new, and I'll see you guys next week for the first battles. Adios.